Hi, this is Julian Jackson with the Dynamic Agents Network. And today what we're going to talk about in this master class is how to become a top real estate agent in just 30 days. There are certain things that you probably haven't learned in your career, whether you're a rookie or someone that's been around for a while. And I'm sure you're tired of chasing leads, struggling with inconsistent results, and feeling overwhelmed by this fast-paced real estate market, which is ever-changing. And we've seen some of the biggest changes in the last 12 months or so. So with that, I want to give you an opportunity to join us at the Dynamic Agents Membership Network. Being part of that group gives you a chance to learn the 30 Days to Greatness Blueprint. We start off by talking about the 5 costly mistakes that hold agents back from 6 figures and how to fix them. And this will literally accelerate agents 2 years ahead of your peers. The things that you missed and didn't learn in real estate school, you're going to learn here. A lot of people feel like they were supposed to learn sales. Well, sales doesn't work for you without confidence. So the first thing we got to do is teach you what it is you've been missing. And the only way to do that is to make you an expert advisor in your market. Now, how in the world can we do that in 30 days? Well, I'm going to show you on this master class. Why do you want to choose this membership? Well, here's some of the strategies that we're going to go through in this master class. Proven 4C coaching method: campaign, capture, cultivate, and close. This is your roadmap to building a thriving real estate business. A lot of times people run campaigns, but they don't know what to do in those campaigns. We already have a proven system, a platform that applies this for you. It sets up all the campaigns for you, but you may not be ready to handle the leads if you don't know these 5 mistakes to avoid. So we're going to go through that. Then when you capture these leads, what do you do with them? How do you cultivate them? How do you close them? If you don't have the skills to do this, it's probably because you're making one of these 5 costly mistakes. Now, that's why we talk about it here. You're going to learn how to sidestep common pitfalls that keep agents stuck. Then we have to automate your success. You implement powerful tools to nurture your leads through text, email, and social media. People have to be able to know you, like you, and trust you. And there's no faster way to do that than to have your brand in front of them on a regular basis. You have to be omnipresent. You got to be everywhere. And they just have to see you. A lot of people set up these campaigns, run 1 or 2 ads on Facebook. It's going to cost you money, but there are free ways to do that. There's organic methods to post in Facebook and not have to spend that kind of money. And then when you learn what ads are working, you can actually switch them over to paid. So understanding that is going to help you in a huge way. Now, from there, you also have to have strategic marketing. You can target your efforts seasonally for maximum results. A lot of people don't understand that this business is cyclical and it's seasonal. So when we talk about the cycle, at least when I talk about the cycle, it really boils down to, is it a buyer or seller's market? We're approaching a neutral market for one of the first times in a long time. People were spoiled in this last market thinking, hey, when we had less than a month of inventory, homes were selling in a weekend. So people thought that was a seller's market. And now that we had 3 months worth of inventory, people think, oh, it feels more like a buyer's market, because the buyers start asking for things that they weren't able to ask for just a year and a half ago. Well, we're not quite there yet. We're hitting neutral. We still haven't hit buyers. Maybe they should make the adjustment because things move a lot faster now than they did 20 years ago. But if you don't understand what's going on through the cycles, you're not going to know why your house is not selling. You're not going to know what's going on in the market, why you're not able to get as much for your house as someone might have a year ago. If you're working with the right agent, if your clients are working with the right agent, they see you as an expert advisor. And again, I'm going to show you how to get there. In 30 days, you're going to bypass your peers. All the folks who've been just getting lucky for the last couple of years because it was easy to sell a house, stuck a sign in the yard, put on MLS, prayed that it sold, and it would. 2 days later, it sold. But I'll honestly tell you that's probably part of the reason why we got sued. Excuse me. A lot of people didn't understand what happened with the NAR lawsuit. Well, just imagine if you're a seller. People come in and do these elaborate listing presentations, telling you all these things they're going to do for you, and then the house sells the first weekend you put it on the market. No one's going to believe you did anything. And if you don't have a way to prove that you did anything, which a lot of people didn't, then all of a sudden they go to the attorneys and go, I think I got ripped off. And if the attorneys see a case, especially one the size of this, of what they saw, they're going to go after it. And they did. A lot of people say, well, the attorney's just being greedy. No, the attorneys don't go looking for lawsuits. The plaintiffs come to them and bring the lawsuits, and they look over and say, man, this is going to be a winner or not. And if they can see a winner, which they end up winning this lawsuit huge, there had to be something, some liability that happened that, whether we want to admit it or not, we screwed up. But I think the catalyst to all this was how fast homes were selling, and there was no way to showcase the marketing that you claim you were going to do. And in addition to people not understanding what was happening, because, you know, it is sales, and there are some shady characters in our industry that make us all look bad. So that's why you got to be thinking about this when we talk about the strategic marketing plan, whether it's during listing season or buyer season. There's times to market for listings using certain campaigns. There's times to market for buyers using certain campaigns. And there's a way to have that crossover and that blend. And if you don't understand what you're doing and when to do these things, you're going to be hitting one market at one time and another market at the other time. And what if they're the wrong time to hit that market? When it comes down to marketing, it really has to be the right message to the right audience at the right time. And if you're not doing that, you're always going to miss and think that there's something wrong with the program, when in fact, it's just your timing is off, your message is off, or you're not talking to the right person. And we're going to fix all of that. So being part of the mastermind will help you, because you're going to collaborate with top performing agents and learn the insider strategies. There's bonuses to this as well. So there's going to be a lot of exclusive tools. I'm going to walk you through that so you'll get to see exactly what all this is, because this is the entry-level program. What I'm showing you guys, you're going to get a lot from it. But the truth is, you're going to get to basically be a fly on the wall and watch me and my team as we operate. We have a call every Thursday from 10 to 10:45 where we talk about milestones, where they'll come in and talk about how they implemented certain programs that I gave them that you'll get access to, and how they work for them. Now, that's how this works. That's accountability. That's coaching. That's mentorship. But a lot of people can't afford the higher price programs. A lot of people don't want to be part of the J Prime Realty Group team of LPT. So here's an opportunity to be a fly on the wall at an entry-level membership. And if you want more, then by all means, you're going to call and you're going to ask me about joining the team. So I'm just going to ask you guys permission to let me, make that offer to you toward the end, so you can kind of see exactly what that's all about. Hopefully it makes sense. If it is something you want to do, by all means, reach out and let us know, because you might see the benefit to having someone in your corner full time. Now, that's what the coaching is. That's the roadmap for growth and expert guidance on lead generation and closing techniques. But for all the people who are like going, yeah, that all sounds great, what does that look like? Glad you asked. This is what it looks like. It's $30K in 90 days. This just happens to be the companion cheat sheet for the 30 Days to Greatness. Everyone that starts my program or starts our membership will start off with the 30K in 90 days, but it's truly started with the first 30 days. How do you become great in 30 days? Well, I call it a cheat sheet, because 30 days is going to get you somewhere so much faster, like the cliff notes of how to get where most people need 2 years to get, because they learned all the wrong lessons in the beginning. How about you learn those in 30 days, build the routine, build the habit, so that you're successful right away. First thing we're going to talk about is certain things that you probably don't even know go on in this market. So maybe it seems like the system is rigged against you and you just didn't know. So we're going to talk about that. Then we're going to talk about the couple of phases where maybe the phases may help you understand what's going on, why you need a list for purchasing, and then jump into the 30 Days to Greatness and those 5 mistakes. And as you see here, I'll kind of go through it so you kind of get a chance to get a glimpse of what this cheat sheet looks like. Yeah, it's 20-something pages, so it's a pretty nice cheat sheet for the people who are wondering what exactly are they getting for this. This is something you can basically, if you haven't downloaded already, you're going to get access to it. But if you download it, you'll have it, but you won't be able to implement anything, because when I show you what comes with the actual program, you'll see that it's a lot different than just the cheat sheet. But for people who didn't know, like just by following the detailed strategies and avoiding the 5 costly mistakes alone, you'll build a thriving, efficient real estate business that attracts motivated sellers. Right now, we're talking about sellers and how to get listings. That's the first thing I want everyone to learn, and how to implement those things. And then, of course, high value referrals. To me, listings and referrals should go hand in hand. I think a lot of people miss out because they don't do that. When I was working in network marketing 20 years ago, I remember people would ask me all the time, how do I always have referrals? Because I would start the conversation asking for referrals. I never started off the conversation asking for business. It was a phone card business. At the time, you know, you were getting long distance calls for 25 cents, and these companies that were network marketing were offering it for 10 cents. So they were like, well, what do you do? I was like, well, I'd go up to someone and say, do you happen to know a pastor or someone that's a community leader that could help, that would like to be able to give a discount to their congregation? And instead of paying 25 cents, be able to pay 10 cents for phone card or for phone time, 10 cents a minute. And they're like, oh, yeah, I think I know a few folks. So I just slide it in as I was having that conversation. And I'd like to, you know, share with you exactly what I'm going to share with the pastor or whoever you introduce me to. So you'll actually know exactly what they're going to see. So you don't have to wonder if it's some shady side, you know, by the way, type thing that's going on. I'm actually going to do this so you can see it. And then you give me some feedback and help me when I'm talking to the pastor. You know him way better than I do. You have the trust factor. I have the expertise. Between the two of us, if he happens to go for it, he or she happens to go for it, then we're in business. And then as I'm giving the presentation, I'd say, oh, yeah, by the way, if they do happen to join and you join before they do, I'm going to basically build your downline by adding those people that you introduced me to for you. But that was network marketing. It works the same way here. If I have a conversation with people and I'm not reaching out to them right away about how to get them to sell their home or buy one, I'm always asking them for referrals up front. Hey, do you happen to know anyone? Hey, take a look at my content. Take a look at this information here. Tell me what you think about it. And if you happen to know anyone this could help, let me know. And I'll be glad to give you a referral of a $50 gift card for steak. And they go, oh man, this looks really good. And yeah, I am looking at this. You know what? We were thinking about selling our house. And now that we've seen your information, oh wow, we might be able to work with you. We want your help. Way better chance of you getting business. And again, they are thinking referrals from the day you meet them. And that's what you want. Now, the same thing works on the buy side. It's just a different script. And I don't like using the term script a lot because in my mind, you can't be focused on the script. You got to be able to flow with the conversations that you're having, which means active listening. And I'll get into that. It's one of the 5 mistakes. But you'll work fewer hours, enjoy more predictable income, and become the go-to agent in your market in just 90 days. You have to get used to doing what I just described. Start thinking third-party approach as opposed to approaching them directly and asking for the referrals. And as a side note, what you're going to do to those people that they send your way. And if they're in the market, they're going to say yes. Again, the right message to the right person at the right time. Now, most people probably didn't know this, but 75% of realtors fail in their first year. That means only 1 out of 4 make it. So if you're wondering why it seems so hard, you're going to find out in these 5 mistakes. But 87% of realtors don't make it past the first 5 years. They do their second renewal and then they give up. They're like, I tried, I thought I could make it work, and it didn't. 85% of realtors have left the business, 85,000. In 2023, of course, the average realtor income in 2023 was $31,900. And then 49% of realtors sold 1 property or less in 2023. It was worse in 2024. So what typically happens is the ones who weren't doing well do even worse in those tough markets, and the ones who were doing well do a lot better because they pick up market share. We want to make sure you're one of those people that picks up market share. Now, what does that look like? All right. There's 2 phases. You want to generate leads to create a list of emails, phone numbers, and addresses. There's many ways to do that. You can purchase them or you can build them through contacts. And again, by asking for referrals. There's many ways to do that. One of the best ways to do this when you first get started is to start purchasing lists. Eventually, your traffic is going to become your sphere of influence, and your sphere of influence is going to be your marketing army. And once you have that marketing army helping you build your list, then you don't have to spend so much money doing that because now the referrals will take over. But you can't think about referrals like everybody else, the ones that just come to you by the way. You have to actively be seeking referrals. So again, you want to generate leads to create a list. And then you want to take that list and make irresistible offers to these lists by all the methods that we have here until they become clients, referral partners, or they tap out. If you think about a funnel, the funnel has I think of it more like a sifter. You have to sift things until they go through the finer grains are going to fall through and get through the rest of the funnel. But there's also a pipeline. So you may not see this or visualize this when you're hearing other people talk about it. Think about the sifter that allows the smaller particles to fall through, and then even those are still going to have fallout as they follow the pipeline. So I like to think of it as a funnel that comes down and then a pipeline that runs a certain way and then dumps out more finer particles at the end, which are you like to hear top of the funnel, middle of the funnel, bottom of the funnel. Well, I think it's more of a funnel or sifter pipeline. Then they fall out at the bottom. But there's so many things you can do in the pipeline to help them, which is what we're going to talk about here in these 5 costly mistakes. But when you look at purchasing this list, you have to identify your neighborhood to farm for sellers or the niche you're going to be marketing to. If you're looking at military or empty nesters or people that are upsizing, then you got to be thinking about how that message would be different from another. And the platform we use kind of does all that for you. It has PDF guides. It has landing pages. It has everything you need so that no matter what you're trying to market to, it's already been identified and it's already set up. You don't have to try to figure this all out. You just need to make a choice. Once you make that choice, you stick with it, you dig deep, and you hit it from every possible angle. A lot of people want to try every single marketing niche out there. And when you try to market everybody, you're actually marketing to no one. And that's what we have to be careful about. Now, some of the sources that you're going to find are in, easy to find locations. Some you got to purchase. If you want to do the manual work and go to Zillow and online and find these places where you can dig the phone numbers out yourself, great. But some of these lists are not that expensive. But the first thing you want to do is determine a zip code or subdivision, because I like to farm and do open houses at the same time. My honest to goodness opinion of open houses is you should be doing 1 a week your first year. Not because it's busy work. If a lot of brokers give their agents busy work, it's because they don't have a game plan. I'm going to show you my marketing plan for open houses here in a bit, and you'll understand exactly why this is not a joke for people who actually do them. If you're doing an open house and you don't have 6 to 40 people or more, it's because you didn't do an open house. You just sat in a house that was open. And that's not the goal. I want to be able to put all this stuff together for you. So when you determine a zip code or a subdivision, it's going to be the area where you're going to do your open houses. Obviously, the zip code is too large, but there are subdivisions within that may only have 100 or 200 homes that you can actually do an open house every single week somewhere in that area. And if there's not enough home open houses to do in those areas, then you can do one in that zip code, that side of town. Now, you want something that has a minimum of 5 years equity, meaning they've lived in it for 5 years and they obviously hopefully haven't done any refinancing. But either way, if they have equity, sometimes equity is built because there was in the neighborhood where the prices just kept climbing. And that's not a bad thing, depending on what part of the country you're in, right? Minimum 5% turnover. So a lot of people ask me, like, what in the heck is turnover? Well, imagine if you had a subdivision with 100 homes and you want at least 5% turnover. I would say closer to 10 would be way better. But if 5 people sold their home in the last 12 months out of the entire neighborhood, that's 5% turnover. If 10 people sold their homes out of 100, that's 10% turnover. And that's actually really good because there's a chance you're going to get an option for 20 to 40% of those. Even if you're bad, you're going to get one. Most people, when they go in and they market the right way, they're going to get at least 20% of the market. If there's a dominant agent already there, they probably already have 40 to 50% of that market. They have 5 of the 10 listings. And that's fine. As long as you get a chance at 1 or 2 and it's the right price point, you're going to do great. And I call that scientific farming. And when you look at the spreadsheets that I designed, that's going to help you. Now, how do you get these lists? 2,500 names, phone numbers, and emails every single month. You might be surprised to hear this, but when I market to 15,000 realtors in a city to try to get them to show up at an event that I put on, out of 15,000 people that I market to, I have no idea how many have actively decided to get out of it. Just think, only 25% of them are going to make it the first year. So even if I market to them, they probably are losing interest as we go, not realizing, oh my God, this is all self-paced work. And I'm no longer a W-2 employee. It just takes too long to realize that. And by the time they do, they go, this isn't what I thought it was. I thought someone was going to coach me and give me a supervisor who's going to watch everything I was doing. That's not real estate. So if you're not learning this stuff ahead of time, like which I'm sharing with you, you got to try to figure this all out on your own. Now, you got FizBonanza. That's a place for, I believe they do free FizBos. But you got Remine, RedX, LandVoice, PropWire, and title companies, and there's several other ones. My Leads Plus, I think there's another couple of companies. I mean, I have in the spreadsheet, I have a few places you can click the link and it'll take you directly where you can go to purchase these. But I highly recommend that you get 2,500 names every month. And at the end of the year, 2,500 times 12 is 30,000. You got 30,000 names in a database. They said, what, 6% of people will be planning to do something every year. You just don't know when that's going to happen. Well, 6% of 30,000 is not a bad list. Now you got to convince them to work with you. If you're reaching out to 30,000 people and they're all seeing your content on a regular basis at least 7 times, and because you're doing all the right things, that's what's going to happen. They're going to see you on a regular basis. And seller leads, obviously, it's a little bit easier to handle seller leads because once you go and do your presentation, you put the house on the market, do the marketing you're supposed to, have a team to help you with it, have a platform to help you with it like ours, and then you can get a lot more done and not be stuck showing home after home after home or client after client after client, different homes, because it takes a lot of time to show one client multiple homes. Once you get the seller leads converted, then usually it's faster time to close. And even if it's not, you're going to pick up more buyer leads while you're getting these listings, and you can use those to send out to give other people leads for referrals if you're doing a lot of listings. That's how you build a solid team. That's what a lot of brokers used to do back in the day before Zillow came along. So that's what we want to do with that. And then let's talk about 30 days to greatness. As I mentioned earlier, whether you're a new agent aiming to build a strong foundation or an experienced professional looking to revitalize your approach, the next 30 days, the 30 days that you, from the day you start this program, will give you practical insights to overcome these common pitfalls, increase sales, and achieve long-term success. Not only am I going to share this information with you, I am going to give you a routine and a way to track it. You're part of the team. That's what you got to be thinking. You're part of the team. So this is going to work out for you. Here's how this looks from start to finish. 5 costly mistakes that hold agents back from 6 figures and how to fix them. Mistake number 1, not realizing you are now a business owner. One of the most common mistakes most agents make when transitioning into leadership or entrepreneurial role is failing to recognize they're now running a business. This is like the number 1 issue. You can't be looking for someone to supervise every single thing you do. Once they teach it to you once, you got to learn it much faster. You got to be able to pick this stuff up and run with it. The same thing you learned this year, you can't be expecting someone to help next year. The people who get in the industry going, well, someone helped me last year and you're not helping me this year. They usually switch brokers every year for that 5-year period, and then they're gone because they didn't understand, like, this is not a W-2 job. You have to learn whatever someone's giving you, say thank you and be ready to learn from it and figure out how to make it your own. But many continue to operate with the employee mindset, focusing on having a supervisor manage their task rather than the bigger picture of managing and growing their brand and business under the structure provided by a team leader or brokerage. This is huge. If you don't understand this, you're never going to do the stuff that's required to run a business. You are the CEO of this company. So if someone hasn't explained that to you, you're thinking all the wrong thoughts. Now, how do you fix it? Well, you got to set a monetary goal. You have to reverse engineer so that you know how many conversations and leads you're going to need to generate to hit that goal. And then you got to get better at converting, because if your conversion rate is 1% and the average is 2, you got some work to do. You get it up to 3 or 4, you don't need to get as many leads to convert. Now, the next thing I want people to do is think about manifestation. Create an affirmation statement. Develop a positive and motivating affirmation, and I'll give you word for word what to say and where to put it, and so where you can see it. It's going to be on the Vision Agenda tracker. You see the tracker, you put it on the wall, you put your statement on there, and you put your goals on there, and you see it every day. Put it on your fridge, or the mirror in your bathroom, wherever you're going to see it on a regular basis every single day. And then you complete your financial and budget planning. A lot of people don't realize they're in a business, but I think this will hit home and make you think about it for sure. You're going to keep thinking, oh man, I need to complete this financial and budget planning tool every day. It's a place to track how much money you've made and how much money you spent and how much of your tax deductions you're going to be able to write off. Because now that you're 1099 and not W-2, there's a lot of things you can write off from the IRS, and it's all legal. Again, you want to work with your tax professional to find out, but it helps. As you see, there's 5 steps here. Again, I'm not going to get too detailed into this. This is something that you will have if you join the membership. Mistake number 2, not automating and delegating tasks. Okay, I'm going to tell you straight up from the very beginning. you need a transaction coordinator. The easiest way to make people understand how important transaction coordinating is a lot of them say, I want to learn all the paperwork. I need to know it for myself. Well, even if that's true, who better than someone seasoned who's done this over and over again to teach you? I was an instructor pilot in the military, and I was a student before I was an instructor. There's no way to learn how to fly helicopters without an instructor sitting next to me. So if doing paperwork was a life or death situation, would you want to learn it by yourself? Would you want to take the lumps of learning the paperwork? Because what I've noticed is the people who start the paperwork, that's what scares them off first. They're like, oh God, I don't want to do any of this ever again. Because they want to be out talking to people. They want to be meeting more people because they know if they don't meet more people, they can't get more deals. Then all of a sudden, the paperwork starts coming in and they're like, oh my God, there's 50 to 80, 100 pages that I might have to figure all these out, explain to my client, get them to sign all this stuff. And I got to coordinate with the title company. I got to coordinate with the inspector. I got to coordinate with the lender. I got to coordinate with the other agent. I got all these people I got to coordinate with. Yeah. Transaction coordinating is just not paperwork. It's a whole lot more. So why not have someone sitting next to you like an instructor pilot via Zoom or on a telephone that they're going to reach out to you and say, hey, I need this paperwork from you. Hey, there's going to be repairs. What are the repairs you want to do? They're going to be able to, without even trying to coach you, but they're also going to make sure you don't miss any major milestones. And that's really the key. If you got my transaction coordinator's got over 20 years experience and she's licensed. So when my team members are working with her, I have no question that she's going to guide them in the right direction. Now, if they are confused by something she says, that's when I want them to reach out and talk to me. That's the access that you may not get with my program, the entry-level program that we have here. But again, if you want additional coaching, there's options for that as well. And then you have to automate the follow-ups. That's what I meant earlier about cultivating. The bottom line is you can't try to do this manually. You're never going to be able to get them through the pipeline. You're not going to get the finer pieces to fall through if you think you got to shake them up every time. It has to be automated. You can't shake people up and hope that something falls out. That's a strategy that was used years ago. You just keep talking to people over and over and you beat them into submission, and eventually someone says, yes, yeah, there's large enough transactions in real estate to make that happen. Unfortunately, you're just not going to be able to scale or grow if you use that strategy today. So you need a customer relationship manager system, and anything from HubSpot to KB Core, Lofty, Follow Up Boss, anything. I have my own software that I use, but one of our tools, one of our platforms is designed to market to get us leads, and the other one is designed to follow up and track the leads through the pipeline. So yes, there's a funnel, but then there's also a pipeline. What is your pipeline designed to do? It's designed to recognize the people that aren't ready right now from the ones who are, the ones that are serious from the ones that are curious. And it's going to nurture and cultivate them along the way. So if you don't have a system designed to do that, it doesn't ask the right questions. It doesn't do the right things. It doesn't touch the clients enough. You need about 7 touches, I'd say, in the first week or so. The campaign I set up, you have, I believe, 16 touches in the first 18 days or 3 weeks. And it has a 67% reply rate. Not all of them are great replies, but we'd rather know, again, if they're going to tap out or be part of our referral army, or they're ready to do business with us right now. Any one of those 3 things is fine, but it's better to know now than waste your time with someone who's never going to work with you and you have no idea what's going on because you don't have a system to get to them as quickly as possible. You got to do that. And then you have to get used to this virtual world. People got really used to that because of COVID, and now you're going to see people come to webinars, Zoom calls, video calls, FaceTime, whatever it is. Just get used to having those virtual consultations because it's going to save you time, of course, and money on travel. So just think about that. And it makes you much more efficient as an agent. And if you can show that proficiency over the Zoom calls, your clients are much more likely to work with you because they're like, wow, you have all these different ways to make this work. I sure do. Absolutely do. Now, mistake number 3, selling instead of educating. This is huge. The biggest turnoff for potential clients is pushy, sales-driven approaches. Clients want to feel like they're working with an advisor, not just someone interested in closing deals. Now, how do you fix that? I already mentioned earlier, actively listening. That's why I don't necessarily care for scripts. You got to read scripts a few times, and I'm going to show you how to do that so that you're not wondering what to say every single time you get started. And you're going to see that here in a few seconds. But you have to actively listen. That means you have to hear what they say. You got to be able to spit back what they said to you almost verbatim. And the only way you can do that is to listen. You can't be ready to look at the next line in the script and go, all right, I need them to give me an answer so I can get to the next line. You do that, you're going to lose them, and they're going to think of you as a pushy salesperson. You have to actively listen. If they say, yeah, I'm looking for a 3-bedroom, 2-bath, but I really want a place where there's at least 1.5 acres in the back so that I can have my kids play, and I want to build this and do that and do the other. Well, if you're like, okay, so 3-bedroom, 2-bath, and 2-car garage. All right, next. They're done. They're not listening to you anymore. They don't care what your marketing plan is. If you're helping them sell their house and they say, yeah, we expect to do X, Y, and Z. Do we need to fix the carpet? Or what do we need to do to make this house sell for what we think? Is there something we're missing? And you're just thinking about the next line. Well, y'all get to that, but you're going to lose them. They're not going to pay any attention to you. You have to actively listen. Well, we need about $30,000 to get out of this house. Okay, well, if you haven't even looked at the net sheets and determined what it would take to get them $30,000 in their pocket, you're not listening to them. And the best way to make sure that people know all about you before they get started, you want them chasing you. You want them to come to you before you go to them. And the best way to do that is brand yourself as an expert, advisor, and a leader. I think people ask me over and over, like, what does it take to be successful in real estate? The same thing it takes to be successful in anything you do in life. Be the leader. Be the leader in your industry means you got to do what people who don't lead aren't doing. People say, I want to be in the top 1%, then you got to do what the 99% aren't willing to do. You want to be in the top 10%, you got to do what the 90% aren't willing to do. And part of that is branding yourself as that expert. You generate higher quality leads because the people that see your content are going to chase you because of what they've seen. Through focusing on education and on your specific marketing, you're going to educate yourself on very specific marketing. That's what one of the tools I'm going to teach you. You have to educate yourself on specific marketing and then provide that value to your clients. But if you're not doing this on a daily basis, you're not even going to have a clue. Most people can't tell you what's going on in their market. They might see something in the news or something general and be like, well, what about the neighborhood that's down the road from you? I don't know. I heard that it's a seller's market. Yeah, but that neighborhood down the street from you, it's not. Well, how do you know the difference? It's in your MLS. All you got to do is go look it up. You'll see it. But this is part of the problem. This is much easier done with video lessons showcasing you're an expert, which is why you should be doing little videos on market updates. And there's a tool for that. Everyone has it. It's in RPR. You just have to know where to find it. So that's why one of the steps in here is the action step. You have to go, and I call it SOAPs, but you're going to talk about when you do your updates with your clients, it's showings, offers, actives, pendings, and solds. Now, if someone is selling a house and they're trying to figure out why my house isn't selling, and they're going, well, I know last year my friend sold a house, they made $20,000 more than they asked. And you're like, well, the market's different than it was last year. That's not going to work. And you try that every week, they're not going to want to talk to you anymore. They're going to think you're a horrible agent. That's how homes expire, and they don't want to work with anyone because they felt like the agent didn't communicate with them and didn't do a very good job explaining why their house didn't sell. Well, with SOAPs, you can't have that problem. If I go into a presentation and I show them what that SOAPs means, hey, there was a certain amount of showings, but no offers. What does that mean? Well, the house didn't show very well compared to the pictures, or the price is too high. Well, what can we do? You might want to stage it. You might want to do some decluttering, maybe make the walls more neutral, clean up the yard, power wash the driveways, maybe upgrade the appliance or upgrade the amenities in the home, rip out that carpet and put in hardwood floors. There's a lot of things you could tell your client, but then they come back and they go, I did everything you said and it still didn't sell. Well, that's where the actives, pendings, and solds comes in. That's when you can pull down a report and show people, hey, there's not very many active homes in here. And actives to me are supply, pendings are the demand, and the solds set the price. So if someone says, well, why is my house not selling? Well, there's no pendings and 119 active listings. Oh, wow. A lot of supply, no demand. And the ones that did sell, look, they were offering these. They put the list price on the market for $285,000. It sold for $275,000. Oh, go a little bit further down. They had to give up $5,000 in concessions. So they end up getting $15,000 less in their pocket than what they originally thought they were going to get. Yes, a year and a half ago, I could show you on the same report that that same house would have put an extra $15,000 in their pocket more than they listed, whereas that's not what's happening now. So if you're not able to explain to people what's going on in their specific market in that exact neighborhood, they should get the feeling that you actually lived in that neighborhood. If they don't get that feeling from you, you didn't do your job. Then RPR, there's market trends. Go over those daily. Some people say, well, it's a monthly report. Great. Then look up different neighborhoods every day. Let's say you only do this assignment Monday through Friday and weekends you're showing homes. Perfect. That's what you should be doing. That's 20 days a month, 20 different neighborhoods. You do that for 30 days, 30 days to greatness, which will teach you how to make 30K in 90 days. And that's a minimum, because if you're doing open houses on a weekly basis, you're probably going to get way more traction. But the reason why open houses will be way better for you is because you just did this assignment. This is the number one assignment I want everyone doing. I want you practicing this on a daily basis. You're going to see the tools here in a minute on what that looks like. And don't be surprised how thorough it is. Now, mistake number 4. Well, let me iterate. We don't tell our clients no, we tell them how. Because you have to be an expert. And once you are an expert and a leader, that's what they look to you for. How many leaders have you ever talked to that said, I'm not sure I can do this? I haven't met any, but it'd be interesting to find out if people have. I have no idea what to do next. When you come across like that as an agent, no one thinks you're a leader. No one thinks you're an expert. The thing I've learned about leaders is they will say things more like, we'll figure it out. They don't even like to say, I'm not sure, I'll get back to you. That's just not a leader type answer. Oh no, we got this. We'll figure it out. Yeah, I know exactly who to talk to. That's how leaders talk, because leaders know they have the resources to get the job done. So we don't tell you no, we tell you how. And part of that has to be part of what you study every day. So how are you going to be confident enough to be able to use words like this, statements like this, so that you can go from step A to step B? Well, you got to practice. So mistake number 4, wanting leads without knowing how to set appointments. Massive problem. Generating leads is one thing, but converting them is another. Without a clear follow-up strategy, often results in cold, competitive leads that are hard to convert. That is a true statement, no matter how you look at it. And how are we going to fix it? You got to improve your appointment setting skills. You got to practice your intro, your offer, your pitch, and your pre-close over the phone. Your first meeting with someone is to set the appointment so they can get your presentation, which is your formal presentation. I call it informal and formal. Informal is setting the appointment. Formal is getting them to sign documentation. You call it whatever you want, but that's what I call it. Now, what's the intro statement? Well, see, again, this is where everybody falls apart when it comes to setting appointments. You have to establish how you got their contact information first and foremost. Like I said, a lot of people think this is cookie cutter. They think if they learn one script, it works for every type of person they meet. It doesn't. How you talk to people at an open house is going to probably give you the most well-rounded experience you're ever going to have, especially if you bring your presentations with you and you practice this appointment setting script. Because you're going to realize every time you get in front of someone, they could have a house to sell and they want to purchase one. And if you don't know both sides of the equation, you're going to have a hard time convincing them that you're the right agent. But as you get better and you realize from day one, first thing I got to do is think about, where am I meeting them? How am I being introduced to them? That's your intro. How am I being introduced to this person? How are they being introduced to me? Oh, through an open house, different verbiage. You have to be much more natural and be able to flow in front of people. And if you practice the script, it'll start to sound natural just because you practice every day. First 30 days, practice. Think of any professional football, baseball, basketball team, and tell me that they don't do the same drills every single year that the season starts. I'm shocked that real estate agents think they can do something one time and then they think that's it. I tried this a month ago and I just seems so hard. Well, baseball players still got to get the ball hit at them hundreds and hundreds of times before the season starts. Football players got to be catching and throwing footballs hundreds and hundreds of times. Basketball players have to be running and dribbling and shooting baskets hundreds of times before the season starts. Every year. And they do it day in and day out. Why are we as realtors always thinking, well, once I learn that skill, it should just stay with me? It doesn't. You got to keep practicing. So with that being said, part of the script, I won't get too much into it, but as it says here, practice these informal presentations, setting the appointment. One is for sellers, one is for buyers, but there's some keys in here that I go over in the actual training, but in the masterclass here, I just want you to see. There's a script. There's certain key things you got to talk about. Do you have a few minutes? What's your offer? Your offer has to be irresistible. Then you have to be thinking about, you can ask questions to find out their motivation so they're not going to back out. These are objection overcomers that you ask before they even bring them up. Then you have to have a close. Your close has to be a pretty solid offer or wrapping up the offer. As mentioned, so you just reiterate the offer, the CMA and net sheets are complimentary, but there's just a best guess. We find that our clients would like a more accurate range before they make any decisions. Does that sound like you? That's like the kind of person you are? Great, because we're experts in previewing homes. So that's what sets you apart. You can say we do inspections, we do a soft inspection, or we do a mini inspection, but you're experts in previewing homes, not experts in selling homes. Because you say that and they're going to say, oh, yeah, well, everybody says they're expert in selling. No, we preview homes so we can determine the most accurate value of your home by telling you and giving you recommendations to showcase your home better than anyone in your neighborhood. And then you ask for the appointment. Now, once you've asked for that appointment, you're good to go. Same thing with the buyer side, different language, because again, the introduction is different when you're working with buyers than it is with sellers. And if you have to work with both, the more you practice this, and you should be practicing every single day. The first 30 days, you are building the mental muscle. And that requires that you go through this every day out loud in front of a mirror, or out loud with a friend, out loud with a spouse. It doesn't matter. You need to be doing it out loud. And then from there, again, buyer close. Now, the mistake number 5, trying to get signatures without a formal presentation. I've talked to so many people who say, oh, I'm just naturally good. And I'll say, okay, let's see how many deals you get closed. And they'll tell me, oh, I get almost all of them. And then if I actually track the numbers, it's usually around 40%. The really good agents that don't have presentations close with about 40% rate, and they think they're doing great. But they probably have a really good lead generation strategy, or they're purchasing leads from these companies. And if they purchase a lot of leads and they get 10 that are solid leads and they can close 4, well, they're making their money back times 4, because that typically only one deal covers what they're spending, if not more, and all the marketing, everything else they're spending. The other 3 are gravy. But if you're not in that ballpark, you're just wasting time. That's where like Six Sigma training project managers, they'll come and look at a system and you throw everything up on the wall and they're going to tell you what things hit the target and what things didn't. Really good salespeople, they're just really good at throwing everything on the wall. They don't care what sticks. They're just going to keep doing it over and over. A lot of us don't like working that way. And if you don't like working that way, you're definitely in the right place. I'm going to show you what you need to do and what you need to say and how not to sound like a used car salesman. So what is the fix? Well, first and foremost, you need to be marketing yourself in a way that people see you as omnipresent. We talked about that. You got to build the trust with organic leads before meeting people, especially on the buyer side. So if you're doing that, listings just as well, but you got to have videos that showcase your knowledge. You don't have to keep doing video after video. Some of them are going to be really long ones. You make a few of those, and then you have a lot of short videos, and you're still in good shape. But that's what it looks like. And then secondly, you got to develop consistent follow-up. We already talked about that. Your systems have to be able to follow up and weed people out and bring people in at the right time so they get to see the right message and it's the right person. Now, from there, you practice and you practice and you practice, because the bottom line is that lawsuit hurt us bad because a lot of agents just were not transparent with their answers, their explanations. So you got to practice. And as long as you have something to put in front of people, as a certified master instructor and an instructor pilot, I can honestly tell you that you have to put together something visual so people can see it. You can try to pretend that saying it's the best way because you're so good at it. That's great. But again, I believe wholeheartedly that's part of the reason why we end up getting sued. Because people heard people talk and they feel like, I don't see where you did everything you said you were going to do. Whereas if you show them and have a presentation in front of them and they go, oh, I saw everything they said they were going to do, and they showed it to me as they were doing it. Now, if the house sells faster and they feel like you did all the work you're supposed to do, they're not going to be upset with you. But they don't know if all you do is talk about it. So I have a presentation. I'm not going to get into it, but if you have this package, you click on the link, it takes you to the presentation. You can borrow it, modify it. It's set up in Canva, so you have the template. I'll thumb through it. I won't necessarily talk through it. I'll just thumb through it so you can see that it's an actual presentation. And when you have access to this program, you'll see the presentation for yourself. Now, this is what it looks like. I always start off talking about, again, third parties. I like your referrals. That's how I start the presentation, whether I'm in front of a group or an individual, and then let them know. Understanding what to expect during the journey, determine how much you will net after the sale of your home. I bring it up first. I don't like to bring it up last. How to use our strategic marketing tools to stand out from your competition. And I get into all of that. So here's a journey. Whether you use a realtor or not, here's what you can expect to happen throughout your journey. Here are some things that can go wrong if you don't use a realtor. You got to figure those out on your own. And about buyer agent concessions. A lot of people don't realize now that we have to talk about this. You, as a buyer agent, you got to sell yourself on the buyer side. Guess what? On the seller's side, you still got to let your seller know why you need to offer more money. One of the number one things I tell people is because the builders are offering between 4 and 7% to buyer agents. So a lot of these people are going to skip by here. And if you're not offering, they're going to say, hey, they can't tell them, their clients, not to go see the house. But they can say they're not offering a buyer agent commission and you've already agreed to give me 3%. So if they don't offer it, you have to pay it. They're going to go, never mind. So at that point, it's like, if I show you new bills and you like those new bills, this won't even be an issue because they're going to pay me anywhere from 4 to 7%. And a lot of times, if they give me more, I can rebate you some of that to help you out. So if you need money with closing, I can actually give you some because anything they give me over the 3% that I'm asking you for, I can use some of that to help me out more and help you out more. And if I do a really good job of negotiating on your behalf, hey, you don't have to come up with any money whatsoever, zero money down. You need maybe $500 to get into that house, and they even give you that back at closing. You think I earned the 4 to 5%, 7%? Yeah, absolutely. Hey, awesome, because that's my goal. I want to make sure I save you money up front and over time by getting you a lower interest rate and lowering that monthly payment. And I know the best way to do that is with new builds. So if for nothing else, you just learned a strategy I use that kicks butt, takes names, and I'm telling you, new builds is the way to go. When you sign with us, certain language you got to use, NLP. I say this all the time, but sometimes before I even get done, they're like, so when do I sign? And that's literally what you want them thinking. Step number 2, here's a gift analysis that I offer. The net sheets, how much money you're going to get back, how I calculate that. This is what they look like. I offer 2 or 3 different net sheets to show you what you get if we go on the low end or the high end or whatever price you market. I talk about a tiering system. Step 3, the tools we have are 3 packages: basic marketing, our enhanced marketing, and our premium marketing. The tools that I use in one of our platforms, why staging might help, and then our strategy. And I talked about soaps. Here it is. Hey, every week I'm going to reach out to you, and this is what we're going to talk about. And if you're not able to pull up this data and you haven't practiced on a daily basis, you're not going to have a clue what to say. You're going to try to avoid your clients like the plague. I have a 4-tiered option that I teach people, and you'll learn that in each one of these different strategies that I teach. But this is the main thing for the strategy. And then from there, I'm like, hey, how do I stay on point? I have a 201-point checklist to ensure it's all getting done. I've counted the steps. My checklist is very thorough. It looks more like a transaction coordinator list with marketing steps, because it is. When I train my team members, or I want to put together a team, each one of them gets their portion. They all do the work. If you want to build a team, you're going to need SOPs or checklists to help you get along without having to be there to manage everything. You can actually be working while you're vacationing without having to do a thing. And that's where you want to be at a certain point. Now, you have to master all this first. And once you master it, then you can teach it. And then you can be basically an entrepreneur with a business and not an employee. You're not self-employed working for yourself. If they decide to sign, I treat it as an assumptive close and I keep moving. And then we wrap it up. And if I do this in front of people, a little bit different than not, but that's what it looks like. So that's part of what happens in the presentation. I have a buyer presentation, exactly the same thing. I'm not going to walk through that one. And then there's 30 days action steps. This is what I want you to do. So you're going to go, well, what in the world is all this stuff? Well, once again, I'm glad you asked. For everyone who becomes a member, they get the 30 days to greatness. There's not just the masterclass, which you're watching now. You actually get the program. And this is 30 days to greatness. This is a tracker. It tells you exactly what to do week by week and for the first 30 days. What I just showed you, you click on that link, it's going to take you to exactly what you just watched, but it's going to give you the scripts. You get to look at the presentations. You get to learn exactly what to say. I'm going to have videos that you're going to watch me do all this stuff first, and then you just repeat what I did. And you do that every day for 30 days, and then you repeat that for the next 30 days and the next 30 days. 90 days later, you're easily going to make 10 grand every single month for those 90 days. It's just going to happen because you're doing what you're supposed to do, especially if you follow this right here, rinse and repeat. You hear this all the time, but I think what people don't like to explain is when you're rinsing and repeating, you want to rinse off the stuff that didn't work and repeat the stuff that does. That's how you review and evaluate what you're doing and make those modifications necessary in the problem-solving metrics. If you don't understand problem solving, that's one of the biggest reasons why people don't get any better. They keep doing the same thing over and over. which you keep doing the same thing over and over and not getting the results you want, I believe that's Einstein's definition of insanity, if I'm not mistaken. So that's what this looks like. And I believe that's Einstein's definition of insanity. So, like I said, rinse and repeat has to make some sense. Now, from there, there's a seasonal task. Hey, the stuff I talked about has to happen from November, December, January, February, and then you start reaping those benefits from your farming for listings from March, April, May, June, and then July and August, you start the buyer sequence of paid ads. Now, for anyone who's looking at all these steps over here and wondering, like, what in the heck do we do? Well, every single thing you see here corresponds with a tab here. So if you look up here, you're setting your goal. Then the first year you set your goal, you go to the goal tab. For anyone who's been doing it more than a year, you're going to determine that to double whatever you did the year before. That's going to be your goal. If it says determine your transactions to make the GCI you're trying to make, you go to that chart, you look at the GCI you're trying to make, and that'll tell you how many deals you have to do, how many leads you're going to need to be able to close that many deals. So you're thinking, I want to be able to close 50 deals a year. You're going to make, at least in our area, because you average about 250 a deal, what you actually take home net from after your broker and all, you're going to end up with $335,000. And this is how many signatures you're going to need to do that. Then we're going to talk about making an affirmation. Well, in order for you to have your affirmation and be able to see it every day, I call this a vision agenda tracker. Everybody calls it a vision agenda board or vision board. I call it a vision agenda. Why? Because I want you to have this agenda of doing things. A lot of us see things in charts way better than just looking at a picture trying to imagine what's next. Everyone I've used this with and they followed it, they come back at the end of the year and they go, I hit my goal. I can't believe it. I went from 10 to 20 to 30 in 3 years. And it's mind-blowing because I tell you to track 13 weeks at a time. 13 times 4 is 52. So you have 52 weeks by doing this 4 times. I say laminate it and then track 13 weeks at a time. You can take a picture at the end of the first 13 weeks, get rid of everything, use a dry erase marker, and start all over again. Your goal should be able to get 1 contract every single week, even if you're only doing 5. So if you do 5 the first week, then you don't have to do anything the rest of the year. Now, what you're going to learn, you can't start just because you're only doing 3 for the year. You can't start 3 months later. You're not going to remember everything I showed you. It's just like playing baseball. If I gave you practice in January and you didn't practice for 3 months and got in front of the ball in the game, it'd shake you up. You need to be practicing for the season that's right in front of you. So while you're doing this, while you're going through the 30 days of greatness, get your contracts knocked out. And then if you finish 5 in the first 5 weeks, great. Now it's going to take some time to close. So maybe it'll take you 90 days to get through your first 5. But you get through 5 closings in your first week or your first 3 months, you're going to make your 30,000 pretty quick. And depending on your market, you might make more. Again, these are the things that we're looking at every time you take one of these steps. So you post your vision agenda board on the bathroom mirror or your fridge, wherever you're going to see it the most. And then we talk about expenses, right? So for anyone who says, I don't know how to track my expenses. Well, again, you're a 1099 employee. Every one of these is month by month by month, and then it tallies it up at the bottom. And I worked at H&R Block for a few months every year for several years while I was in the military and a couple when I was out. And honestly, I would bring this in. I'd let someone else do my taxes. I bring this in and they go, you did all the work for us. Now, this is someone who was doing, again, 1099 work while I was working full time. And a lot of times it would help me quite a bit to be able to write all this stuff off, knowing that I was spending quite a bit out of my own pocket to make it happen. But if you're not tracking all this stuff, you're going to leave a lot of money on the table. Then it talks about the automation. So once you go there, it says set up listings to leads, follow up, and automation in the automation tab. Then you review this particular tab daily. So I also want you to print this one. So you have the tracking, the vision agenda tracker on the wall, and you have this on the wall because you're going to mark this off every day for the first 30 days, and then you're going to do it again. And again, once you click on this, it's going to take you to the file that I just showed you so you can practice those scripts and practice your presentation on a regular basis. Then there's also the part where you're actually going into RPR and doing the market trends and going into your MLS and looking at the actual data for every neighborhood you're planning to show, especially the farm that you're going to be working. Then from there, we talk about the automations. We talk about the listing sequence paid ads that you're going to run. everything from landing pages, the open house, the just listed, the pendings, the just sold, the pick 5 seller guides from the platform that we're going to offer you as part of this membership, how to set up these landing pages as part of the membership, one for FISBOs, one for home valuations, one for cash offers. There's others for marketing new builds. I want you to market higher price new builds if you're going after sellers, lower price new builds if you're going after buyers, depending on where you are in your career. If you already got enough sellers coming in, you just want to double your income, you're going to have to start marketing higher price new builds to get an additional amount of leads. You got sellers already, you have the budget to do that. Brand new folks may not. So we start with lower priced new builds for new agents that are just trying to get their database built up in addition to the leads they're going to purchase. Now, I talked to you about scientific farming. For all of those folks who are wondering what in the heck does that look like, this is what it looks like. I will basically give you exact parameters of what you need to do to pick your farm. It's going to add an additional 6 to 20 listings a year. But as you look through this, you can see this is February 2024. That house was on the market in this community an average of 69 days. I don't think this one stayed on that long, but we went through, picked the numbers, and as I said, there's a few links in here to help you purchase those leads depending on which these platforms you like better. My team, I give them an exact name of who I want them to go to from a title company, and then set up the custom audience. We do workflows with the CRM. All that stuff is getting taken care of. And then we have to calculate the turnover rates. People ask, well, I don't remember what you said. Well, it's all right here. And the spreadsheet does all the work for you. You punch in the numbers as I walk you through in the video, and you just follow the steps here and watch the video and you'll get it. Talk about the turnover rate in the actual farm. So one is in the subdivision where you do the open houses. One is going to be in the area where that open house is going to be done, or where you're going to do most of your open houses. Some of these communities are going to have new builds, so it's going to be a whole lot more homes to sell. Nothing wrong with that. Those builders allow you to do open houses, then you should be doing those every week at a builder. And then calculate the amount of income you could potentially make. You follow these steps and you're like, oh, there's 40 homes in this community. I could potentially make $31,000 if I'm only getting 10% of those available. So that give you 4 listings at the price point. You might make that additional amount. Or if this community is selling, or this area is selling 358 homes in that, not subdivision, but in that area, that zip code, that particular area within a certain radius of the home that you're doing, the community that you're doing open houses, they sell 358 homes in the last 12 months out of X amount, out of 1,900 it says. And then you're like, okay, well, if I get 10% of those, that's 35 homes. Yeah, you're gonna have to have your transaction coordinator, probably a marketing assistant, but at the point where you close 1 or 2 deals and you're following this by scaling the way you're supposed to, that's how you build your business so that you're not thinking about anything else. The key to all this is understanding that your expenses are not getting paid by your employer anymore. Your personal and business expenses are coming out of your budget. So remember that when you think about marketing. Your company may be marketing on television, all those places, and getting a bunch of business so that you have work to do. Now you have to do that. And so you have to put money aside for a budget and think about the taxes that you're not going to have to pay till the end of the year. Put all that away and know that that all is included. So every time you get a check, you might want to take 10, 20% out and have a budget set up. And I talked about that in the beginning on what you need to do to make sure your budget's set up the way it's supposed to. And I give you the parameters on how to do that. I'm actually going to show you the document and the training that allows you to do that. Now, even once you finish this, there's a tool that we use to help you do virtual open houses along with the live one. And then if that wasn't enough, there's an entire checklist on how to do open houses the way I bring people in. I count it down. It's like a movie trailer. It's like concept. Think movie trailer. Build up to the movie release. Like no one's going to show up to an open house unless they're just open house scavengers. But that's why you see all these zeros, goose eggs going to open houses, because people don't think of it like a movie trailer. I don't care if it's your favorite actor. Someone told you, oh, the movie's coming out in an hour and you got other stuff you plan. You're not going to stop everything you're going to do unless you're just a super fan or something. But other than that, they're not going to show. You want a lot of people to show up, start 7 days in advance and start letting people know. And there's a bunch of techniques that I go through in this checklist to make sure that the word gets out. Everything from 20 to 30 signs, make sure they come in from certain thoroughfares, how to market ahead of time, make sure that your signage reads certain things, because if it doesn't read a certain way, it's not going to help you. It's not going to get the word out fast enough. You can't put it out an hour ahead of time and expect people to show up in droves. It won't happen. There's a frenzy I create by setting this up alongside your listing. If it's your listing, you should expect a lot more than if it's not. because you're not inviting realtors to the listings that aren't yours if you borrowed one from someone. But you count down from 10 all the way down to the day after and what you're going to do to continue marketing everything that you have. And then from there, what else can we do? All right, there's a checklist on how to attract sellers to your webinar. Well, as you're building up this list, and you have that list of 2,500, 30, and eventually becomes 30,000. After 3 to 6 months, your list should be large enough for you to be able to invite people who've seen all your content. And now they're thinking, well, I'm going to go see this person live because I've been getting this information and I'm just not sure what to do. So one of the best things you can do for people is say how to sell your house without an agent. Do a webinar on that and see what happens. You'll be surprised. They'll show up, and then when they see how much work it's going to require, because you go through the very listing presentation I just showed you, and you just do it in a group instead of one-on-one. Then again, the referral marketing network, how to build your referrals. I already showed you exactly what to do, but the 5 costly mistakes, I'm showing you all the answers, and this is what it takes. And then we set up the platform for buyers in June and July. So this is, you already saw the one for sellers. July and August timeframe, we're going to switch over to marketing for buyers. Of course, if we keep getting listings, great, but we know the market's going to shift at the end of that part of the year, and it's time to start marketing new builds. Because new builds, there's a reason why they put all those incentives out toward the end of the year. You need to be taking advantage of that as well. And if you don't know enough about new builds and you're a little bit leery, that's another reason to be part of this mastermind, be part of the dynamic agent group or network, because anyone who's part of the dynamic agent network, you automatically be trained on new build specialties as well as how to market your products for listings. Now, with all that being said, how do I get people trained that are saying, hey, I hear everything you're saying and I love all this stuff, but I just don't know the basics. I don't know what I don't know. All right, so I give you 52 weeks worth of digital assignments. It's basically a library. And all you're going to be doing is basically, if you're trying to figure out, like, I don't know what it means to be a CEO. Well, here's an org chart and a video. Here's the finance I talked about. You got to open a business account. All commission checks go into the business account. 60% of those checks go to your personal checking, etc. I walk you through this. You have a spreadsheet to walk you through. And then you have a lecture on tax deductions. I give you a download for that. I give you a video on what to do, and as well as remind you over and over to make sure you meet up with your tax professionals to do that. How to set your goals, where to go next, and then step by step by step. As I talked about reaching your goals, the videos are already in here. This is the product you're going to be watching. The first 7 days, it's a 7-day boot camp. It's designed to get you in the know, learn how I operate, make sure that the stuff that you might have missed from other places, you're going to get caught up here. And then you start your 52-week dynamic agent membership now, or mastermind now is what we called it at the time. It turns out DAM is the acronym for pretty much everything we put together. Dynamic Agent Membership Network works out pretty well too, but that's what it boils down to. And then you get assignment after assignment. How to set up your Facebook covers, how to do short form videos, demographic farming, the video that helps you understand how to set up farming for demographics as opposed to geographic, new build specialist setup, how to get introduced to the sites that we use to help you become a new build specialist, everything from how to set everything up on Facebook, on and on and on. So there's really no way not to win with this system as long as you do the system. But that's what it looks like. Now I'm going to kind of give you guys an idea of where to go next. All right, so we kind of talked about what this all looks like, but what I want you guys to see is what's inside. So the 4C coaching method is kind of a summary and to kind of give you an idea of what's happening here. The 4C coaching method, which we talked about: campaigning, capturing, cultivating, and closing. The automation tools and strategies, the emails, the text follow-ups, the media ads, database management, the strategic marketing plan, why we work November through February to set us up for March through June, and then why we take June and July to set us up for September and December, September through December. How to access the dynamic marketing platform and training. It's basically what I've shared with you already, but here's what it would typically look like if I offered it to you at a separate time and not in our entry level. It's 30 days to greatness with our 30K and 90-day training and blueprint. So you got to see what that looks like. You just don't have access to any of the material. Then the weekly mastermind, that would typically be $250 a month for anyone who wants to be part of a mastermind that I do on a weekly basis. And then we have a platform that typically costs $60 a month, but you're going to get that included with the system. Then you're going to have access to the library. That database I just showed you with the 52 weeks, that is what we're looking at. The boot camp would be $997. Winning every listing would be $997. When I ran this program for people who want to be part of my mentoring program, but they weren't part of my team, I charged them $6,000. So these are actual prices that I would charge if I were separating each one of these things. But if they wanted it all, it was $6,000 for 12 months of coaching because they wanted to get in the right place and be able to do all this because maybe it was missing from somewhere else. Now, I'll even do the commercial leasing made easy. It's a program for the commercial side. I can get into the sales, but I think leasing, once you learn the language and get good at leasing, commercial real estate is not as intimidating as you think it is. I started in commercial real estate with a big company in San Diego, California back in 2013. So that's where my expertise started. I've also got a mortgage license. I've been doing that since 2006. I ran my own mortgage company after about 18 months in the business, and I was also an instructor at the Texas Savings and Mortgage Lending after 6 months of being in the industry. I just love numbers. Mortgages seemed to just, immediately I was able to pick up on it. Plus, I had an instructor background to start. So it was really easy learning the material, teaching other people. And I always tell people, if you want to master something, teach it. So I started teaching it first. I learned it really fast. And then whenever I went places, people were like, man, you can run your own company with the amount of knowledge you have. But anyone can do that if they think like an instructor, think like an educator and like a leader, and you're going to blow your peers away. I'm just giving you the heads up. Now, for anyone who joins the Dynamic Agent Membership Network, here's the options that will fit whatever your goals are. It's a $249 setup fee. That's just to get you all the stuff that I just showed you, so you have access to it. Then you get 60 days without making any payments, and then it's $67 a month. Now, if you don't think your career is worth that, there's not much I can do about it. I was told to probably charge a lot more. I have charged a lot more, and it wasn't even in this condition when I did that. But I'm just going to leave it where I had it because I think it just makes more sense. If you're thinking, well, I would much rather work with you on a regular basis, well, then there's an option to be part of the team. So for my team members, they get all of this for $25 a month, but the splits are a little different. The thing that I like to do for my team members, if you're a brand new agent, here's how I look at it. 30, 20, 10. That's how much my split is. A lot of the brokerages that you work with is 30, 30, 30 or 25, 25, 25 for your first 3 deals. My thought process is if I do the first deal, if I help you with the first deal and my training is as good as I think it is, shouldn't you do more work the second time than I do? You're going to do more. Maybe I do more work, but you're going to do more than you did the last time, and I'm going to do less. So why am I making the same amount of money? So then it goes to 20. On your third deal, it's down to 10%. And then if you happen to join the brokerage with me as part of my team, then this is what I do for you. And I'll obviously offer for my seasoned agents 10% to me, but you got to be able to handle contract to close. If I have to help you with anything related to the contracts or closings because you don't want to work with the TC or you don't want to reach out to LPT corporate, which to me, like corporate is not going to run from you. They have all this stuff set up in the knowledge base. They have this great LPT Connect 2.0 where you can go in and see all the training you want. They're going to teach you how to work with Loop, everything you ever could possibly need. Now, for brand new agents, I'm going to help them with that because that's part of my job. But if you've been doing this a while, Loop, SkySlope, Transaction Desk, whatever system you use, you know how contracts work. So it's just a matter of getting familiar with a new system. And if you're going to take my time away to do that, then I'm going to charge you 30%. If you don't take my time, now, of course, if you're confused about stuff, reach out to them. If you can get confused, I will have a conversation with you. But if you ask me questions and I go, have you talked to corporate? No. Have you looked at the knowledge base? No. Then I know you're not motivated to do these type of things. And I like working with motivated people because once you get motivated, I'm going to motivate you even more. I'm going to give you the tools that shortcut everything so you can avoid all these common pitfalls. And I'm sure you can see through this system, not asking for a whole lot. And then it's a loyalty split. If you're part of my downline in this organization, we get what we call rev share and stocks. So if you're part of my downline, I'm going to pick up a little bit of extra money over time, not right away. But if you're not part of my downline, 15 transactions. So 3 transactions for people who are part of my downline. People who are not part of my downline, 15 transactions. So whether you're part of LPT already or not, or you joined under someone else or not, doesn't really matter. You're going to get a break on all this at some point in time. But the bottom line is that's what it's all about. And the final piece here, for anyone who's trying to figure out, like, how can I get in front of people and do these seminars? Well, first off, if you're in the San Antonio area and I'm hosting a seminar, I'm typically going to have all the people in my downline invite people to my home sellers workshops. So you bring them, and anything that you can get done by having me do the hard work for you, I get up there, I do the heavy lifting, I convert them, you close. Of course, I'm going to get a little piece through rev share, or for my team members specifically, a portion of what they make is going to come to me anyway. So that's the benefit for me doing it that way. If I have a room with 50 people in it, of course, I'm going to be excited. And if you got people that you brought there and I'm able to get them closed based on the stuff that you see that I just did here. So not just webinars, but also seminars that we can host, and not just home seller workshops, but also home buyer workshops. But with a room full of people, you can tell the excitement's there, the momentum's there, everyone feeds off of everybody else, and it always makes a huge difference, and you don't even have to do the work. Now, if I host a webinar and you're part of my downline, it doesn't matter where you are, you invite people to the webinar, same result. That's what we're looking for. You bring them to the webinars, I do the work, you get to make the money until you're in a place where you feel really comfortable. And you're like, you know what? I think I want to do that myself. All right, well, great. Because what I did was I put together a dynamic speaking and leadership online course. So it allows you to become a leadership focused trainer, where for my team members, it's $97. So if you're actually on my team here, that's one thing. But if you're in the network, it's $397. Non-members, it's $14.97. So anyone who just wants to join, it's basically an online dynamic speaker and leadership training. What I'll have you do is record a 5-minute video somewhere at home and a 10-minute video somewhere at home. I will grade each one before you do the next one, send you back the grade sheet, or I will tell you how to grade yourself. And then the 15-minute one, you might have to come live and in person. And for everyone who wants to make it for the live and in person one, absolutely. If you're in the San Antonio area, great benefit that you get to get in front and do your 15-minute speech live. And if you're doing it live, obviously it's going to change everything about how you speak, but this online version works just as well because you're going to get feedback every time. Now, what I will potentially do is take everyone who doesn't have the ability to come to San Antonio, you record your third presentation. I will have people watch your presentation in the room that you recorded, and we'll all give feedback to you. But the grade sheets that I put together and all that, all part of this training, it's just a bonus for people who decide to get this package right away. It's for fast action takers. This is what we want to do. If you wait somewhere down the road, this package isn't going to be the same because I just can't afford to give the training, because the more people that ask for it, obviously it's very limited on how many times I can grade papers or grade videos that I'm watching. It's just a lot of work. But for anyone who's wondering, that's what we're talking about. As you see here, if you were to purchase this on your own, we're probably looking at, again, close to $5,000, $6,000, if not more. And that's the stuff that I offered in the past. The speaking and dynamic leadership, if it was a live training the entire 3 days, it's $2,500 or more. So this is only because it's online and because people are fast action takers and they want to be part of the network. That's what I'm looking for. Dynamic Agent Network members, that's what this is all about. If you're part of my team, you get an even bigger break, but for obvious reasons, because I'm going to get a portion of your check every time you close. But the reason I don't ask for as much as everyone else when it comes down to my commission splits with my agents is because I figure if I grow a large enough team and I'm collecting 5 or 10% from each one, it's not enough money by itself to motivate me. A lot of these team leaders and brokers are wanting 50, 30, and 50, 30, 40, 50%, some 60, some 70, even though half of that might go to, Zillow or Op City, wherever it's going. You're only keeping 30%. But my thought process is, if I'm training you how to do the stuff that I'm showing you how to do, I have to be really good at what I do to be able to train you to be able to do it, because otherwise I don't get enough to keep going. So I have just enough skin in the game where it'll keep me afloat. But in order for me to thrive, I have to make sure everyone in my team and my downline is doing great, especially my team members. I got to make sure that, or I should say everyone who's in my team, on my team and in the network. I can't really do a whole lot for people in the downline. A lot of those folks they'll be outside of my reach. But team members and network members, those are the folks I really want to take care of, because obviously the better you do, the longer you're going to stay with me, the more you're going to make, and you're not going to want to walk away, especially with the lifetime loyalty bonus and the folks who are spending, the $67 a month. That will be grandfathered, so that if the price does go up, which it likely will, because once this takes off, I'm going to get feedback from people and just make it better and better. But that's the goal of all this. If you guys are interested, there will be a link available that you just click on it. I'll make sure that you have access to that. You click that link. And once you go to that link, somewhere on this particular page, it'll take you to a place to basically pay the $249 setup fee. The $67 a month won't kick in until 60 days later. So that'll give you a chance to get the 30 days up to greatness out of the way without having to make any payments until you start putting these systems in place. And then a whole nother 30 days to actually see the effect it starts to have when you start practicing this routine over and over again. So that's the goal. That's what's going to happen. That's how this whole system works. Somewhere on this page, make sure you look below somewhere on the page and find the option that lets you click the button to take you to the order page so you can get this set up for you today. And again, you get these additional bonuses by doing that today as opposed to waiting. Hopefully you've learned something that will help you whether you decide to join the program or not. Obviously, there's way more value than maybe you might have expected for what I'm asking. But whether you join or not, hopefully you got a lot out of what you watched here today. And it does motivate you to have a fantastic 2025. I want everyone to do way better than just surviving. I want you to thrive. So that's what we got to see from everyone that attends. I'd like some feedback from you one way or the other. Even if you don't join, send me feedback and say, hey, I just watched the program. I just watched your master class. And I actually was able to get so many golden nuggets that it took me to a different level. Maybe then you'll say, I think I could use your program, but that's for another time. But for the people that watch this, I appreciate you showing up. I'm sure there's many other things you could have done than come to this training. And again, I hope you got a lot out of it, and we'll see you on the other side.